John Dury was a Scottish Calvinist minister and a significant intellectual of the English Civil War period. He made efforts to reunite the Calvinist and Lutheran wings of Protestantism, hoping to succeed when he moved to Kassel in 1661, but he did not accomplish this. He was a prolific preacher, pamphleteer and writer. Early life. He was the fourth son of the exiled Scottish Presbyterian minister Robert Dury. John was brought up in the Netherlands, at Leiden, attending the university there. He was in Cologne, at the Walloon Church, 1624–6, and subsequently at El Blag. He was a close associate of Samuel Hartlib, a native of El Blag, whom he met there and shared his interest in education. According to Richard Popkin, another key influence was Joseph Mead, from whom Dury took a method of scriptural interpretation. This interpretation has been challenged by recent research claiming that Dury developed his scriptural analysis before meeting with the works of Mead. While at Elbing he translated an anti-Trinitarian work of Samuel Pripkowski into English. From 1628 Dury petitioned Gustavus Adolphus for help in the cause of Protestant unity. He spent much time wandering Europe. He met Comenius, who spent some years in El Blag as well, with an introduction from Hartlib. Up to 1633, Dury had Anglican support from George Abbott. In that year, Abbott died and was replaced by William Laud, with whom Dury had a much more difficult relationship. Christopher Hill states Laud had no use for the efforts of Comenius, Dury and Hartlib to reunite Protestants. Dury was ordained in 1634, and went to Sweden, supported by 38 English Puritans. The networking of Dury and Hartlib in the 1630s brought them close to Oliver Cromwell, through Oliver St. John and the Gumster preacher Walter Wells, a neighbour. Dury then travelled widely in northern Europe, and was tutor to Mary, Princess of Orange in The Hague. He had a long though unproductive meeting with René Descartes in 1635. Also in the Netherlands he was an associate of Adam Boreal and Petrus Serrarius, and an influential figure in Civil War and Commonwealth England. At a key moment in English and European politics, Dury in August 1641 published concerning the work of peace ecclesiastical, urging Protestants to unite across national boundaries. This work was dedicated to his patron Sir Thomas Roe, and had been written in 1638. In 1639 Viscount Mandeville was writing to Dury, in the context that the situation in particular of German Protestants was being mooted and linked to the possibility of the English and Scottish churches could organize or broker such a union. In 1641, Dury and Comenius came to England. An invitation had been mooted in a sermon by John Gordon in 1641, at the start of the Long Parliament. The backers of the scheme to bring Comenius then included John Pym in Lord Brooke as well as Mandeville. Dury gave a well-known sermon to the Parliament on the 26th of November 1645, Israel's call to march out of Babylon into Jerusalem. He was given an official appointment as tutor to the younger children of Charles I. From 1646 these had been in the care of Algernon Percy, 10th Earl of Northumberland. After the war in England had ended, he argued both for religious toleration and for acceptance of the parliamentarian regime. He incurred the displeasure of the Westminster Assembly, to which he belonged, for his part in the 1648 publication in translation of part the theological work Satani Stratagemata of Jacob a Conscience on Toleration. He called on the ranter Abai Copper to repent, and helped in drafting his recantation. He provided arguments in pamphlets of March and October 1649 for supporting the Rump Parliament. Hill places Dury with Anthony Ascham and Marchmont Needham as propounding the theory that Parliament had legitimacy conferred by God because it held power de facto. Barbara Lulski calls Dury's arguments Hobbesian. Hill considers that the failure of Cromwell's plan to create a unified Protestant church in England of the 1650s put paid to Dury's ecumenical ideas. In 1652 he translated John Milton's Iconoclasts into French as Iconoclasts, our réponse au livre intitulé Icônes basiliques. In 1655 Milton quoted from letters of Dury in his Procès Defensio contra Alexandrum Morum. In 1654 he was sent as a diplomat by Oliver Cromwell to Germany, the Netherlands and Switzerland. In 1652 he had travelled with Bulstrode Whitelocke to Sweden. He also worked with Whitelocke as a deputy librarian, from 1649, of the collection going back to Jane Lumley. His book of 1650 on librarianship, sometimes said to be the first such work, came out of his experience in this post. Jews and Hebraists. Dury met Manasseh ben Israel in 1644, and heard from him an account of Antonio de Montesinos's alleged discovery of the 10 tribes in America. Dury wrote in favor of a Hartlib Circle project for a College of Jewish Studies. Parliament was lobbied for funds. The proposed faculty were Johann Stephanus Ratangel, Christian Ravius and Manasseh ben Israel. In 1649 Dury addressed a further inquiry to Manasseh on the subject of the 10 tribes, which resulted in the publication of The Hope of Israel. In 1650 appeared Thomas Thorogood's Jewess in America. Dury read it in manuscript, and contributed to later editions. He included information on the Karaites, in whom he had a particular interest, from Ratangel. Dury is considered to have been one of those around Cromwell influencing the decision to allow Jews to enter England officially. He was the cautious author of a pamphlet of 1656, A Case of Conscience, whether it be lawful to admit Jews into a Christian commonwealth. To a question put to him by Hartlib as to the general lawfulness of their admission, Dury replied in the affirmative, but from the point of view of expediency he considered that circumstances as to a particular time and place might render their admission unwise. Irenaeusism and millenarianism. Dury's long ecumenical efforts have earned him a name as an Irenaeusist. This territory he shared to an extent with his contemporary Hugo Grotius. Dury made contact with Grotius through his follower Samson Johnson. That relationship soured, since Dury had a hand in Johnson's dismissal as chaplain to Elizabeth, Queen of Bohemia, suspected of Socinianism. According to Trevor Roper, Dury, like Grotius, was an idealist, but their ideals were not quite the same. He wished to achieve not reunion for the peace of the Church, but union of all Protestants for the Holy War, in particular union of Lutherans and Calvinists. Richard Popkin and Geoffrey Dew have argued that Dury was a millenarian. His millenarian views are said to have pointed to 1655 as apocalyptic. Against that view it has been argued that Dury warned readers about attempts to predict the onset of the millennium. In his preface to the millenarian tract Clavis Apocalyptica, Dury seems to come out against the idea of a political millenarianism and to defend a more moral interpretation of millenarianism. Position in the Hartlib Circle. Pansophism and alchemy. Alchemy was within the interests of the Hartlibian group, and both Dury and his wife were involved. In 1649 they were quizzing Worsley on distillation. In the first half of 1651 Dury was a witness to George Starkey in an apparent transmutation, and then recommended Starkey to Morian family. In 1645 he married Dorothy Moore, an Irish Puritan widow. The match was arranged by Dorothy's niece, Catherine Jones, Viscountess Ranelagh, daughter of Richard Boyle, 1st Earl of Cork, and wife of Arthur Jones, 2nd Viscount Ranelagh. To be precise on the somewhat tenuous relationship, Arthur Moore, Dorothy's first husband, and Frances Jones née Acute Moore, mother of Arthur Jones, were half-brother and half-sister, children of Garrett Moore, 1st Viscount Moore of Drogheda, by different wives. By this marriage Dury was connected to Robert Boyle, brother of Lady Ranelagh. The daughter Dora Katharina Dury was Henry Oldenburg's second wife. Works: Analysis Demonstrativa, Paranesen, Answer to the Lutherans, De Pace inter Evangelicos Procuranda Sententia Equa or Quorum Tres Reverendis Dominis Episcopus with Thomas Morton, John Devon and Joseph Hall. A brief relation of that which hath been lately attempted to procure ecclesiastical peace amongst Protestants. A summary discourse concerning the work of peace ecclesiastical. Consultatio Theologica super negotiatio pacis ecclesiastici promovendo. Good Counsels for the Peace of Reformed Churches with John Devon and Thomas Morton, Joseph Hall and James Usher. A motion tending to the public good of this age and of posterity. An epistolary discourse. A model of church government. Considerations tending to the happy accomplishment of England's reformation in church and state with Samuel Hartlib. The Reformed School, edited by H. M. Knox. Considerations concerning the present engagement. A seasonable discourse. The Reformed Library Keeper online text at Project Gutenberg. The unchanged, constant, and single-hearted peacemaker drawn forth into the world. Objections against the taking of the engagement answered. JVST re-proposals to humble proposals. The Reformed Spiritual Husbandman. A summary platform of the heads of a body of practical divinity which the ministers of the Protestant churches abroad have sued for, and which is farther enlarged in a treatise intituled An Earnest Plea for Gospel Communion. A declaration of John Dury, to make known the truth of his way and deportment in all these times of trouble. Irenicorum Tractatum Prodromus, Extractum ex Harmonia Confessionum Oblatum Ecclesiae Reformatis ut examinator antiquam opus ipsum Lutheranis offerture, touching intelligence de el Apocalypse par el Apocalypse meme. Livri Christi.